Filter-Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. Radio or not, and filterfreeradio.com.
My name is Jacob Dean, and we're broadcasting live on Filter-Free Radio, filterfreeradio.com, and also the home of Nicole Sandler on the Radio or Not Network, radioornot.com. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. We are broadcasting live. It is December 19th, 8:07 p.m. here on the East Coast, and it is my pleasure and really my honor to welcome to the program. He's the former governor of Louisiana, also former member of the House of Representatives, and the only presidential candidate who has been both a governor and in Congress. It is my pleasure to welcome to the show Governor Buddy Roemer, the website buddyroemer.com. That's BUDDYROEMER.com. Governor, thank you so much for taking time with us this evening.
Thanks, Mr. Dean. Glad to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And real quick, I want to mention it was a pleasure to meet you at the Citizens Intervention Rally here in Washington D.C. at the Capitol back in October, and you gave it a phenomenal speech. If you want to watch Buddy Roemer's speech on that, it's over at citizensintervention.com. And Governor, I want to thank you so much. I know you're absolutely busy doing other things much more important than Filter-Free Radio, things like the Jon Stewart Daily Show and Stephen Colbert. And it's just an honor and a privilege to speak with you, sir.
It's my privilege. I'm in New Hampshire tonight, where I have rented an apartment. I've been here for the last 3 months. So 8 out of 9 days, I walk New Hampshire, listening to people, talking with them, worried about the country, wanting to have it better, and decided not to take the special interest money. Jacob, you know that's what I do: fight corruption, and I think Washington D.C. is corrupt.
Absolutely. And if you go to buddyroemer.com and check out the issues page, there's a nice layout chart there. And one of the things, and of course it compares Governor Roemer to the other candidates in the field and also President Barack Obama. Governor Roemer, you are the only anti-corporate anti-corruption candidate on the field, and you have a plan that would eliminate corruption in D.C. and reform campaign finance laws. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Let me make 2 points, if I could, Jacob. One is that I deal with corruption and the power of special interest money because nothing else will get done unless we solve this problem. Yeah. And the problem, quite simply, is that the money from the special interest, they're making so much money that they're able to give a couple of % of the money that they're making in profit and reinvest it back in buying politicians. Right. And it's been going on for a number of years. 4 years ago, McCain and Obama ran for president, and they received more money from PACs and lobbyists in Washington, D.C. than money from 32 states combined.
Oh, wow.
We are a nation in decline. We need jobs reform. We need budget reform. We need tax reform. We need trade reform. We need immigration reform.
We need a whole
small business reform. But let me tell you something. It's not going to happen. The politicians are going to promise it, but they can't deliver. I mean, President Obama promised hope and change. Right. What happened to it?
Right.
He did bank reform, signed the bill, went to Washington the next week, had a fundraiser, went to Wall Street the next week, had a fundraiser on Wall Street, $35,800 a ticket. And guess who the host was? Goldman Sachs. I mean, we've gone through Bill Clinton, we've gone through George W. Bush, we've gone through Barack Obama, and they're bought. Now, here's what I would do. And by the way, I come from a state that was corrupt 25 years ago when I became governor, and with the help of a lot of strong people, we cleaned that state up, and it has never looked back. We went from the highest unemployment rate in America, 12.8%, to one of the lowest at 5.6%. Here's what we need to do in Washington. Number one, full disclosure. Money cannot be given to a politician without the public knowing it. Number two, it should be within 48 hours of delivery. No more hiding for a year or two or 120 days, 48-hour full disclosure. Number three, no lobbyist should be allowed to bring a check. You have to register as a lobbyist in Washington. When you do, you should not be allowed to go to a politician with a check or to raise money in a fundraiser. That should be off limits. Number four, we should have PAC contributions equal individual contributions, not twice as much as the current law. Five, we should eliminate super PACs. They are illegal under Citizens United ruling. They are illegal because they're not independent. I mean, Mitt Romney's 3 PACs are run by his campaign manager, his former business partner, and his chief of staff. They're not independent. And finally, and this is the crusher on the D, I would have criminal penalties for politicians, lobbyists who violate these rules. We do these 6 things, and we will take a major step toward cleaning up Washington. I've asked the citizens of New Hampshire, and by the way, I'm up in the polls here. I'm ahead of Rick Perry as of last week for the first time.
I'm applauding, sir.
I've asked the people of New Hampshire to send a message to Washington. I say send Buddy Roemer. He'll start with a big broom, and he'll clean up the mess. And, you know, Jacob,
yes.
I spend a few minutes talking about this because the other things that we need to do, stop unfair trade with China, for example, create jobs from small business, they won't get done until you kick the special interest out and let real people in.
Absolutely, and I remember I'd love to ask you about that. Your plan on getting tough on China standing up to the unfair trade and help bringing jobs back to America. One of the
major issue, Jacob. It's a major issue.
Yes.
They're stealing us blind. They don't trade fairly. I've been to China many times, as you know. I've been in the plants and the factories, and I've met with government officials. They are a one-party state. They are corrupt. They are communists, and their one aim is to whip America. And we ought to not let them do it. Change the tax code, make sure trade is fair, make sure our products can go there, stop our tax code from awarding our businesses for opening plants in China. We need to get serious. And I went to the Chinese embassy last month and gave that speech. You could have heard a pin drop.
And as part of that, maybe bringing like manufacturing back to how would you do that?
What happened to we do it? It takes 3 or 4 things working together. Number one, fair trade with China. I will penalize their products. Put a dollar penalty on them if they're made by children, if they're made in China illegally, if they were made in America. In other words, if your Chinese plant works prison labor, child labor, has no environmental standards, no health and safety standards, that plant could not open in New Hampshire. And I've told the citizens of New Hampshire, if their plants can't open in New Hampshire, we will penalize their products. That will make the trading field level. So that's the first thing. Fair trade means level trade. Second thing is that I would not allow American companies to continue to get tax benefits if they open plants in China. You know, they open Chinese plants, and they don't sell those products in China. They sell them back in America. They're just designed to beat American laws that protect our health and safety. But you start with fair trade. You equalize the trade. Any money gained by the government would be used to pay off the Chinese debt that they owe to America. I would have us be free. I would have us be strong. I would have us start manufacturing plants here. When I penalize trade from China, that's an opportunity for small business to have manufacturing plants in America. So we start with fair trade, then I do energy independence. I would drill for natural gas. It can be done safely. It can be done modernly. It's a fourth the cost of oil. It's only 20% of the carbon footprint. All of you listeners out there who believe in clean air and bright water, we ought to go to natural gas, and we ought to do it quickly. We have the best supply of natural gas in the world. We ought to put our fleets on it. I'll put all government vehicles on it. We will clean up the air and water, but have affordable energy for manufacturing plants. Number 3, I will deregulate small business. I will reward small manufacturers, not large manufacturers, small manufacturers. I will have Made in America as my number 1 theme. I will put the flag of the manufacturer of every product sold in America. If it's made in China, it'll have a Chinese flag on it. If it's made in Kuwait, it'll have a Kuwait flag. But if it's made in America, it'll have the flag of the United States of America. So that when you walk down the aisles at whatever store you shop in, you'll know exactly where these goods were manufactured. We've lost 10 million manufacturing jobs in the last 12 years. By golly, I'll get them back.
We're speaking with Governor Buddy Roemer, the website buddyroemer.com, running for president. Governor Roemer, you mentioned talking about going back briefly to the anti-corruption,
Yes.
Getting money out of D.C. And with the recent developments of the Citizens United case, saying corporations are in fact people, or at least have some rights as people, including money is speech. How do you your real quick thoughts on are corporations people? Is money speech?
Corporations do have rights. They're an entity formed for legal purposes to protect the shareholders from personal suits.
Yes.
They are not people. They are not people. And we have, in our 200-year history of our country, never allowed them to speak this loudly and this freely. It's taken away speech from citizens. I want more speech, not less. I think full disclosure, broad limits is the way to go. But I do not consider corporations as people. If they did, they could have been drafted in the Vietnam War when the rest of us were subject to being drafted.
Yeah.
Not a single corporation was drafted, not one.
That's a good point. I love that. And I won't keep you much longer. I know, Governor Roemer, you're very busy, and again, I want to thank you for your time with us this evening. My last question, real quick. I know you used to be a Democrat, and at one point became a Republican. And with this platform that you're running on, sir, it sounds like you'd make a great progressive. Any thoughts on coming back to being a Democrat ever in the future?
Well, no, I'm a proud Republican, but I'm a prouder American. And I find these parties change over time. I mean, I'm still the farm boy, Harvard graduate, undergraduate, Harvard Business School. I believe in the market system, but I believe it needs rules and regulations. And I've always felt that way. Conservative on some things, liberal on others. I mean, I'm not a one slogan guy. I was a conservative Democrat in Congress, but I found my party moved away from me on trade issues, on economic issues, and on issues I thought were important. So I've been 20 years a Republican, and I find my party doesn't even give me a chance to debate in the 16 national debates, and I'm the only former congressman and former governor running. I wonder what's wrong, Jake. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time, Governor Roemer, and you always have an open invitation on Filter Free Radio.
Thank you, Jake. We'll do it again in a week or two, okay?
Sounds great, Governor. Have a good night.
You.
Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Buddy Roemer. Again, the website, buddyroemer.com.
Looking for filters? Check your coffee maker. This is Filter Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott. FilterFreeRadio.com. Get ready to suck down some grounds.
When I talk about resistance, I think we have to stand up now and carry out acts of nonviolent resistance.
Because the truth is, we do have power.
We live in revolutionary times, but the counter-revolution is winning.
Sounds like a case of the Monday.
Live every Monday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Filter Free Radio.
This is my favorite show.
We have been given an opportunity to make a new beginning.
I think it's very important for us to start to build a culture of resistance because what we're doing isn't working, clearly.
It's our job to very coldly assess reality and then figure out how to respond.
Your number one source for unfiltered truth, analysis, and solutions. FilterFreeRadio.com.